The sun was setting on the dry horizon of planet Aranon, painting the sky in colors of gold and orange. Rohan stood at the edge of a high desert canyon, staring at the vast walls of stone that stretched for miles. He had dreamed of exploring places like this ever since he left Earth. Now he was part of a small team searching for ancient ruins hidden under the sands. Beside him, Myra adjusted the strap of her pack and looked down at the steep path. She was the team's linguist and had always been fascinated by unknown symbols. "It feels like this place has been waiting for us," she said quietly. Kira, the technician, laughed softly. "Waiting for us, or waiting to swallow us? These rocks look older than anything I have ever seen." Lio, the historian, joined them with a small recording device in hand. He spoke with calm excitement. "The maps we found in the old archives pointed here. If the records are true, there should be a chamber somewhere in this canyon. A chamber no one has opened in thousands of years." Together they began the careful descent into the canyon. The walls around them glowed faintly in the last light of the day. Dust rose under their boots, and the sound of wind echoed like whispers between the stone. For hours they searched along the rocky floor, checking every crack and shadow. Just when Rohan was beginning to feel tired, Myra called out, "Here! Look at this." They gathered where she stood before a section of wall that looked smoother than the rest. At first it seemed like ordinary stone, but when Rohan brushed away sand with his hand, a symbol revealed itself. It was a serpent, long and golden, coiled in a circle with its head raised high. The carving looked untouched by time, as if it had been waiting beneath the sand for someone to uncover it. The air around the symbol felt cooler. Rohan stepped closer, placing his palm near the carving. To his surprise, the serpent shimmered under the fading light. A faint glow traced its body, brightening and dimming as if it was alive. Kira leaned closer, her eyes wide. "That is no normal carving. There is energy in it." Myra whispered, "The golden serpent. I have seen this design on fragments found in other ruins, but never this complete. It was always thought to be a symbol of wisdom." Lio began recording every detail. "This is it. The chamber of the golden serpent. The entrance must be here." They pressed their hands against the wall, searching for seams or hidden lines. Slowly, Rohan noticed a pattern around the serpent's body. Small shapes, almost like stars, were carved in a circle. He traced them carefully, and as he did, the glow grew brighter. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. The wall shifted with a low sound, and a hidden passage opened. Cool air flowed out, carrying the scent of dust and age. Inside, darkness waited, deep and silent. The glow of the serpent remained on the outer wall, shining like a guide. The four explorers looked at one another. Excitement mixed with nervous wonder. Kira adjusted the light on her wrist. "We should go in. This is what we came for." Myra nodded, though her eyes held caution. "Yes, but we must be careful. This place is not only stone. It feels like it has purpose." Rohan stepped forward first. His light cut through the darkness, revealing smooth walls that shimmered faintly with silver dust. The air felt heavy, as though it carried memories of a world long gone. Each step echoed softly, and the silence pressed close around them. Inside the chamber, the walls began to shine in response to their presence. Lines of symbols stretched across the stone, glowing gently when touched by light. Myra reached out and placed her fingers on one of the shapes. The symbol pulsed once, then remained bright. "These are not random marks," she said, studying them closely. "They look like language. Perhaps even instructions. Kira ran her scanner over the wall. Strange. These patterns give off a rhythm. Almost like they are speaking. Lio moved closer to a large carving of the serpent on the floor. Unlike the one outside, this serpent seemed to be made of pure light woven into the stone. Its golden body shimmered with a faint hum. When Rohan approached, the hum grew stronger. It reacts to you, Myra observed. Rohan knelt beside the serpent design, unsure what to feel. Why me? I did nothing. Perhaps it recognizes something in humans, Lio said thoughtfully. Perhaps it has been waiting for us. The chamber glowed brighter as the team stood together, each of them feeling the weight of the discovery. They were not just in an ancient room. They were inside a place built with intent. A place that seemed alive with energy. Rohan rose slowly, looking around at the shining walls. This is not the end of the journey. This is only the beginning. And in that moment, as the golden serpent glowed softly at their feet, the explorers knew they had uncovered something far greater than forgotten stone. They had opened the door to a secret that connected humanity to a story much larger than they had ever imagined. The chamber felt alive as the four explorers stepped deeper inside. Their lights shone across walls filled with strange patterns. The glowing symbols moved slightly, as though responding to every breath and step. Myra studied the shifting marks with careful eyes. These shapes are not random. Look how they change when we move closer. They are reacting to us. Kira placed her scanner against the wall. The small device flickered with lines of data. There is energy here, steady but gentle. It follows a rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. And the shapes remind me of numbers. See the way they repeat in sequences. It feels like mathematics. Rohan bent closer, running his fingers just above the glowing surface. The marks lit up brighter when his hand hovered near them, then dimmed when he pulled back. It knows when we are near. It is like the chamber is listening. Lio's eyes sparkled as he scribbled notes into his record book. If this is true, then the builders wanted visitors to interact with these walls. They did not design them only for decoration. They are messages, or maybe even instructions. At the center of the room, the golden serpent design on the floor pulsed with soft light. It seemed calm, but when Rohan stepped closer, the glow brightened and a gentle hum filled the air. The sound was low, yet warm, and it spread through the stone as if the entire chamber had a voice. Again it responds to you, Myra whispered. Rohan shook his head in wonder. Why me? I am no different from the rest of you. Perhaps it is not about you alone, Lio suggested. Perhaps it reacts to the whole group but focuses its light through whoever is nearest. That would explain why the serpent responds most strongly to you right now. They moved around the room, touching the glowing marks carefully. Each time, the walls lit up with a soft shine. Patterns began to form, connecting symbols together like threads in a web. Myra noticed that the patterns were not random. She traced one line with her finger, and it led to a cluster of symbols that looked like stars. This is familiar, she said, her voice quick with excitement. Look here. This resembles a constellation. I think the builders placed maps within the walls. Kira adjusted her scanner to project the shapes onto a screen. The projection revealed that the glowing marks did indeed form star maps. The team gasped when one map aligned perfectly with the sky of Earth. Lio tapped his notes, speaking slowly. The chamber holds knowledge of Earth. That means the builders of this place knew about humanity. But how? And why? The question filled the air heavier than the silence. They looked at one another, each sensing that the chamber was more than an ancient ruin. It was a message across time and space. Rohan stood on the glowing serpent again. The hum grew louder, and suddenly the wall before them shifted. The symbols rearranged themselves, forming a spiral of light. Inside the spiral, new symbols appeared. Myra studied them carefully, her brow furrowed. "This looks like a story," she said softly. "It speaks of travelers. They came from far across the stars. They were called Serpent Guardians. They built this chamber as a safeguard. A place for a future species to find." Kira tilted her head. "But why would they expect humans?" Myra touched the glowing line again. The symbols rearranged once more, this time forming patterns that looked like simple human numbers. "Because they knew we would understand mathematics. They left messages that we could read when the time was right." The explorers grew quiet, each thinking of the meaning. The serpent on the floor pulsed brighter, almost as if pleased with their progress. "We are being tested," Lio said at last. "Not in strength, but in mind. This chamber is not meant to frighten us. It is meant to see if we can learn, if we can work together, if we are ready." Kira nodded slowly. "And if the chamber was designed for us, then it means the Guardians wanted humans to discover it." Rohan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the discovery. He looked at the serpent glowing beneath his feet, then back at the team. "If this is a test, then we must pass it. We cannot treat this as just ruins. This chamber has purpose." The spiral of symbols shifted again, arranging into new forms. This time, the glowing lines connected into a map that spread across the wall. At the center of the map was Earth, marked by a bright circle. The lines stretched outward, leading to other stars, as if guiding them toward future paths. The explorers stared at the glowing map. It was clear now. The Serpent Guardians had not only left a chamber but had built a bridge of knowledge. A bridge that pointed straight to Earth. Myra whispered the thought that filled all their hearts. This chamber was waiting for humans. And as the glow filled the room with gentle light, the explorers knew that their journey had just entered a deeper mystery. Humanity was not alone in the universe, and the chamber of the golden serpent was the first step into that truth. The chamber was filled with a soft golden glow that seemed to come from nowhere. The explorers stood quietly, their eyes fixed on the spiraling map of stars that covered the wall. The air felt heavy, as if the place itself wanted them to understand something important. Myra moved closer to the wall, tracing her hand near the glowing symbols without touching them. She spoke with slow care. "These marks are forming sentences. They shift in patterns like spoken words. I think they are telling a story." Kira leaned over her shoulder, watching the shifting lights. "Can you read them?" "They look like moving waves to me." "I cannot read everything," Myra admitted, "but I see repeating forms. The same cluster appears again and again. It might be a name or a title." She paused, her voice growing softer. "I think it says Serpent Guardians." Elio raised his head quickly. "The builders of this chamber. That must be what they called themselves." The wall pulsed once, as if agreeing with her words. Myra's eyes widened as the symbols changed shape, arranging into a long ribbon of light. The ribbon moved slowly, showing scenes like pictures written with fire. Figures shaped like tall beings traveled between stars. They carried shining orbs and placed them on distant worlds. Rohan stepped closer. "Are they showing us their history?" "Yes," Myra said with certainty. "These guardians traveled the galaxy. They left behind places of knowledge. This chamber is one of them." Kira frowned slightly. But why show this to us? Why not leave it for themselves? Elio's face lit with thought. Because they were not protecting knowledge for themselves. They were preparing for those who would come later. For us. For humans. The wall brightened again, and the ribbon of light shifted into the form of a great serpent that circled a sphere of stars. The serpent's body glowed gold, and its eyes shone like small suns. It looked powerful yet calm, not a creature of fear but of wisdom. The serpent is a symbol, Myra explained. It represents wisdom, renewal, and cycles that repeat. The guardians must have used it to remind us that knowledge is not an end, but a path that continues. Rohan looked at the glowing serpent on the floor, which pulsed in harmony with the one on the wall. He felt a strange warmth in his chest, as if the chamber wanted him to understand too. The explorers then noticed that part of the wall had shifted again. This time, glowing panels slid into place, each covered with symbols and lines. The panels moved slightly, waiting as though for the team to act. Kira tilted her head. This looks like a puzzle. These panels must be arranged in the right order. Myra studied the marks, her brow furrowed. The symbols look like stars again. If we align them correctly, they may form constellations. Rohan placed his hand on one of the panels. The moment he touched it, the panel slid easily, glowing brighter. He looked at the others. It only responds when we try together. Come, help me. One by one, they each took hold of a panel. When they moved them into place, the symbols began to shine more clearly. The room hummed with approval, as if the chamber itself was watching. Slowly, the pieces came together, forming a great star map that stretched across the wall. Elio gasped when he saw the center of the map. Look there. That is Earth. The panels were designed to lead us here. The others leaned closer. Indeed, Earth was marked by a bright golden circle. From it, shining lines extended outward to other stars, pointing to distant destinations. Kira whispered, "It is as if the Guardians left a trail. They wanted us to know that Earth was part of something greater." The golden serpent on the floor glowed so brightly now that the whole chamber shimmered with its light. The explorers stood together, filled with wonder and a deep sense of connection. Myra turned to her team. This chamber is not a warning. It is an invitation. The Serpent Guardians believed humans would reach this place. They wanted us to learn, to grow, and to continue their journey. Rohan took a slow breath, his eyes fixed on the glowing star map. We came here searching for ruins. What we found is a message across time. It is telling us that humanity has a place among the stars. The symbols faded into a gentle light, as if resting after delivering their story. The room returned to quiet, but the explorers felt that they had just unlocked the first part of a much larger mystery. The serpent symbol on the entrance wall glowed faintly once more, like a reminder. This was not the end of their discovery. It was only the beginning of a path set long before humans walked on Aranon. The chamber slowly grew quiet after the star map faded. Only the golden serpent on the floor continued to glow, its body shining in a steady rhythm. The explorers stood in silence, each of them trying to understand what they had just seen. The message from the Serpent Guardians was clear. Humanity had been noticed long ago. Rohan stepped closer to the glowing design, staring at the way the light moved along its coiled shape. The glow grew brighter as he approached, and suddenly the stone beneath his feet shifted. The serpent stretched forward, and the floor transformed into a long golden pathway that wound deeper into the chamber. Kira gasped softly. It changed. The serpent is leading us. Myra looked carefully at the shining path. It is not just a light. It is a guide. The guardians are inviting us to go further. Lio adjusted his pack, his face bright with excitement. Then we must follow. Every step may hold more of their story. The four explorers moved carefully onto the golden pathway. The light was gentle and warm, glowing under their feet as they walked. The air grew cooler, and the walls began to open wider. They entered a new space, larger than the first chamber. Here the walls were lined with floating crystals, each one glowing with soft colors. The crystals drifted slowly in the air, as though weightless. When the explorers passed by, the crystals flickered, projecting images in the air like living memories. The first image showed tall figures walking across a world of blue skies and green valleys. They carried tools of light and placed them into the ground, planting something that glowed. The explorers watched in awe. Myra whispered, "These must be the guardians themselves. Look at their height, their calm movements. They are shaping worlds." The crystals changed, showing new scenes. This time the figures stood under a night sky, pointing at stars that looked familiar. Slowly, the images shifted to show Earth. Oceans sparkled, clouds drifted across the planet, and humans walked the land. Rohan froze when he saw the scenes of Earth. How could they know about us? Did they visit our world in the past? Lio answered quietly, "It seems they did. Perhaps long before we learned to write or build cities. Maybe they watched us grow, guiding from a distance." The explorers walked further along the golden path. More crystals floated into view, each showing moments of human history. They saw early people making fire, building shelters, drawing on cave walls. They saw great ships crossing oceans and towers rising into the sky. They even saw humans looking up at the stars, dreaming of the worlds beyond. Kira's voice trembled with wonder. The guardians recorded our story. They carried pieces of Earth here to show us. It is as if they believed in us from the very beginning. The crystals glowed brighter, filling the chamber with soft light. The explorers felt a mix of awe and responsibility. They realized that this was not only a chamber of memory. It was a mirror, showing them what humanity was capable of becoming. At the end of the chamber, the golden path curved into another opening. Above the entrance shone the serpent symbol once more, brighter than before. The serpent's head pointed forward, as if urging them to continue. Rohan looked at his friends. The guardians are guiding us step by step. This path is more than stone and light. It is a journey of trust. Myra nodded. And each room teaches us something. The first showed us their story. The second showed us ours. They are weaving both together. Lio smiled softly, his eyes filled with thought. It is as if they are telling us, you belong in the same story. The explorers entered the next chamber, following the glow. This room was smaller but more focused. The golden serpent symbol reappeared on the floor, brighter than ever, surrounded by new symbols on the walls. These symbols moved quickly, forming shapes that looked like puzzles waiting to be solved. Kira tilted her head with interest. Another test. This one looks different. It might require us to think together. The chamber was silent, waiting. The explorers stood close, ready to face the next challenge. None of them felt fear now. Instead they felt a growing sense of purpose. Every puzzle, every light, every symbol was guiding them closer to a truth larger than themselves. As the golden serpent glowed warmly at their feet, they realized something important. The chamber was not only revealing secrets of the past. It was preparing them for the future. The new chamber glowed softly with golden light. Symbols on the walls moved like waves, changing every few seconds. The golden serpent design pulsed on the floor, brighter than before, as if waiting for the explorers to begin. Rohan stepped forward, looking around with careful eyes. This place feels different. It is not only showing us something. It is asking us to act. Kira nodded, studying the symbols. Yes. Look at the walls. They are forming patterns, but they break apart when I stand alone. It is almost like the room wants more than one of us to try at the same time. Myra placed her hand near the glowing marks. The symbols lit up, but only halfway. She frowned. It does not complete. Maybe this is a puzzle that cannot be solved by one person. Elio's voice carried quiet excitement. That would make sense. If the Guardians wanted to test us, they would not test only our minds. They would test our ability to work together. Unity may be the key. The explorers gathered near the walls, spreading out so each of them could touch a section. When Rohan placed his hand on one side and Myra placed hers on another, the symbols grew brighter. But they still flickered, as though unfinished. Try joining too, Rohan called. Kira and Elio added their hands to the glowing wall. At once the symbols locked together, forming long lines of light that stretched across the chamber. The hum of energy grew stronger, filling the air with a gentle rhythm. Myra smiled. It responds to all of us. The puzzle is solved by unity. But the chamber was not finished. The lines of light rearranged themselves into a new challenge. This time, glowing shapes appeared in the air. They floated like stars, but some flickered as if unstable. Kira examined them carefully. These are energy patterns. They need balance. But the balance cannot be reached by one person alone. Rohan held out his hands, touching two of the glowing shapes. They steadied for a moment, but then faded. Kira stepped beside him, placing her hands on the other side. Together their shapes brightened and held steady. Myra and Elio were given another part of the puzzle. Star-like points shifted into constellations, but the lines between them were broken. Myra recognized the shapes as parts of a map. She and Elio worked together, moving the stars until they joined into a full pattern. When they finished, the stars shone clearly, matching the constellations of Earth's night sky. The chamber responded with a deep, soft hum. The golden serpent on the floor glowed so bright that it filled the room with golden light. Rohan looked around in wonder. It feels like the chamber is alive. It watches us and learns from us. Myra whispered, or it waits to see if we can learn from each other. The golden light faded to a gentle shine, and new symbols formed on the walls. These symbols looked like words, and Myra stepped closer to read them. She spoke slowly, translating as best as she could. The path is not for the one but for the many. Those who walk together find the way. Elio wrote the words carefully into his book. This proves it. The Guardians wanted to remind us that humans are strongest not when we stand alone, but when we stand together. The explorers felt a quiet pride in their hearts. This test was not about power or knowledge. It was about trust, patience, and cooperation. By working together, they had unlocked the chamber's message. The walls shifted again, and a doorway opened at the far end of the chamber. Beyond it lay another hall, glowing faintly. The serpent symbol above the doorway shone with a golden light, brighter than ever before. Kira looked at her friends. The chamber is guiding us deeper. We passed its test. Now it shows us the next step. Rohan nodded. Then let us go. Whatever waits ahead, we face it together. The four explorers walked side by side, leaving behind the Chamber of Unity. They knew now that the Guardians had trusted them with more than just ancient secrets. They had trusted humanity to learn the value of harmony. As they stepped through the glowing doorway, the golden serpent shimmered like a living flame, watching them go forward into the unknown. The new hall stretched wide and tall, filled with golden light that shimmered across the smooth stone. The explorers stepped inside slowly, their footsteps echoing in the silence. The air felt different here, calm but powerful, as if they were standing at the very heart of the chamber. At the center of the hall stood a vast statue. It was shaped like a golden serpent coiled around a crystal sphere that floated above the ground. The serpent's body was carved with fine lines that glowed faintly, and its eyes shone like tiny suns. The crystal sphere pulsed with soft blue light, sending ripples of color across the room. Rohan stopped in awe. This must be the heart of the chamber. The Guardians left their greatest secret here. Myra stepped closer, her eyes fixed on the sphere. It feels alive. The light inside is moving, like it is carrying a message. Kira lifted her scanner, but the device flickered and went dark. Strange. The energy here is too strong for my tools. We must rely only on what we see. The explorers gathered around the statue. The golden serpent seemed almost to watch them, its head raised with a calm and knowing look. Slowly, the sphere above it grew brighter, and beams of light spread out, filling the hall. The beams shaped themselves into pictures and words. Myra gasped softly as she began to read. It is the voice of the Guardians. They left this for us. The glowing message showed tall figures once more, the same Guardians they had seen earlier in the crystals. They stood around stars, building chambers and placing symbols of the serpent across worlds. A soft sound filled the air, like music without instruments, gentle and steady. Myra translated the message. We are the Serpent Guardians. We walked among the stars long before your kind looked upward. We built chambers of knowledge to wait for those who could learn. We watched Earth and saw in humans a spark we had not seen before. Creativity, resilience, and curiosity. The explorers listened with silent wonder as the message continued. Images of Earth appeared again, showing humans building, dreaming, and reaching for the sky. The Guardians' figures stood in the background, always watching but never interfering. The Guardians trusted us, Lio whispered. They believed we had something worth protecting. The light shifted once more, and the serpent coiled tighter around the glowing sphere. Myra's voice grew softer as she read the final part of the message. We leave no weapons, no power of destruction. We leave wisdom. The path is not to rule but to imagine. Not to conquer but to create. Those who walk with unity will find their strength. The words echoed in the hall. For a moment, the explorers felt as if the Guardians themselves were standing there, speaking directly to them. Kira looked at her friends, her eyes shining. They chose us not because we are strong, but because we are dreamers. They saw our imagination as our gift. Rohan nodded slowly. And they left this chamber to remind us of that gift. Humanity is special not because of force, but because of the ability to create, to imagine, to build a future together. The golden serpent statue glowed brighter, and the sphere above it shifted. It projected new lines of light, forming paths that stretched across the stars. Each path led away from Earth, toward other worlds, like invitations waiting for humanity to follow. Lio recorded every detail with care. This is not only a message. It is a map for the future. The Guardians are telling us that our journey does not end on Earth. We are meant to travel further, to carry our imagination to other worlds. The explorers stood quietly, letting the meaning settle in their hearts. They had not found treasure, nor secret power. What they had found was far greater, a reminder of who humans were and what they could become. The golden serpent's eyes glowed warmly, as if approving their understanding. The hall was silent once more, but the explorers no longer felt alone. They felt connected to something vast, something that stretched across time and stars. Myra placed her hand gently on the base of the statue. "Thank you," she whispered. "We will not forget this." The sphere dimmed slowly, returning to its soft blue glow. The chamber seemed to rest, its message delivered, its purpose fulfilled. Rohan looked around one last time. "We came seeking history. What we found is a promise. The Guardians trusted us. Now it is up to humanity to honor that trust." The explorers turned toward the doorway, their hearts filled with a sense of purpose. Behind them, the golden serpent statue shone softly in the quiet hall, its light like a beacon that would never fade. The explorers stepped out of the heart of the chamber, feeling a calm energy follow them. The golden serpent's glow faded gently behind them, leaving a soft trail of light on the floor. The chamber had shared its deepest secrets, but a sense of wonder still filled the air. Rohan walked slowly, thinking about everything they had discovered. "We have seen so much," he said quietly. "The Guardians, the star maps, the messages. It feels like we have been part of something much larger than ourselves." Myra nodded, her eyes scanning the walls that still shimmered faintly. "They left this chamber for humans. Not as a warning or test, but as a guide. They believed in us, even before we could understand their story." Kira smiled softly. "It is strange to think that someone so far away, so long ago, knew about us. And they trusted us to follow their path." Lio held his notes tightly, feeling the weight of what they had learned. The chamber was not only about the past. It shows us our future. It reminds us that humans have a special gift: curiosity, imagination, and the ability to work together. The explorers walked through the long corridor of the chamber, following the faint golden glow that still lingered. Outside, the desert light of Aranon began to shift as the sun moved lower, painting the canyon in soft oranges and pinks. The planet felt peaceful, almost as if it recognized the team's discovery and honored their journey. Rohan paused and looked back at the entrance of the chamber. "It is incredible. Everything here was built to guide us, to teach us, to remind us that we are part of a larger story. It is like the chamber was waiting for humans to arrive at just the right time." Myra stepped closer, placing her hand on the cool stone near the entrance. "And maybe there are more chambers, hidden across the galaxy. Others waiting for us to find them. The Guardians could have left more lessons for humanity." Kiro laughed softly. "Imagine discovering another one. Each chamber showing us something new about the stars and ourselves. I think we are only at the beginning of a great adventure." Lio smiled and closed his notebook. "The golden serpent is not just a symbol of the Guardians. It is a reminder of what we can achieve. Knowledge, wisdom, creativity, and unity are stronger than anything else. That is the secret of this place." The team stood together for a moment, taking in the quiet beauty of the canyon. The golden light from the serpent glimmered faintly on the rocks outside, catching the last rays of the setting sun. It looked like a promise, a soft reminder that humanity had been noticed, trusted, and prepared for something greater. Rohan looked up at the sky. Stars were beginning to appear, twinkling in the evening light. He thought of Earth, far away, and of the people who would never know about this chamber. Yet somehow, it did not matter. The message was for all of humanity, waiting for the moment they could understand it. Myra spoke softly, "We were chosen to find this chamber. Not because we are special individually, but because humans together have the power to imagine, create, and explore. That is what the Guardians saw in us." Kira looked at the team with a bright smile. "We should take their lesson with us. Share it, live it, and continue to explore. The universe is full of mysteries, and now we know that humans have a place in that story." Elio placed his hand on the glowing wall once more. "The chamber will always be here, waiting for others who are ready. But for now, we take its wisdom back with us. Humanity is not just part of history. It is part of the universe's future." The team walked slowly back to their ship, leaving the golden serpent glowing softly behind them. Each step carried a feeling of pride and purpose. They had discovered secrets far older than Earth, messages left by beings who trusted humans to continue their work. As they prepared to leave the desert canyon, Rohan looked at his friends. "We came here searching for ruins. We found much more. We found proof that humans are meant to explore, to learn, and to imagine. That is the greatest mystery of all." Myra nodded, her eyes shining. "And it is only the beginning. The universe is waiting, and so are we." The golden serpent on the chamber's entrance caught the last light of the sun, shimmering like a quiet promise. Its glow reminded the explorers that humanity's journey had only just begun. Together, they had uncovered secrets of the past and discovered the strength and potential of the human spirit. And as the ship lifted from the canyon, leaving the chamber behind, the explorers knew one thing with certainty: humanity had been noticed, trusted, and prepared for something far greater among the stars.